Hi, I'm Kevin Chow, and I'm excited to tell you about using the term time well spent to capture knowledge work more holistically than classic productivity. A lot has changed in the workplace over the last 100 or so years. Instead of working in factories on an assembly line, like in the industrial age, many of us now work in offices doing knowledge work, where the goal is to think and solve problems. We often have flexible working hours and a high level of autonomy in the tasks that we engage in. In addition, in this era of mobile devices, email, and messaging, working from home or remotely is commonplace. The boundaries between our work and non-work lives are increasingly blurred. With these changes, we wonder, what does it mean to be productive? A classic definition from the industrial age of factory work is about increasing the rate of output per input, or time. However, it's clear that this definition of productivity has lagged behind. As knowledge workers, what we work on, when, and how we work can no longer be so simply defined. What is the output of an important stakeholder meeting? Is it considered productive for a work-from-home mom to prepare lunch for her child? The changes to the ways we work have also coincided with a significant increase in mental health challenges. Challenges with stress and burnout are rising dramatically in the workforce, so much so that the World Health Organization has labeled it an occupational phenomenon. Might our framing of worker productivity be contributing to the mental health challenges? For example, the marketplace is teeming with a multitude of digital interventions like Rescue Time, which is a popular app that tracks time and blocks distractions like social media from devices, with the goal of making workers more productive. Although this might seem counterintuitive, HCI studies have shown that distraction blockers in some cases may actually increase worker stress by discouraging breaks. So what if we as a society framed our time working in a more holistic way? By holistic way, what we mean is one that accounts for and factors in the overall well-being of the worker, rather than just on their productivity. Could some of these mental health challenges be mitigated? Thus, we wondered if the term time well spent, a term that has also recently appeared in popular media, but here using time well spent during primary working hours, could better capture a knowledge worker's overall state of work, by taking an approach that balances productivity and well-being. By using this holistic approach, we hope that digital tools and interventions may be better designed to more effectively support workers. To see if time well spent captured holistic thinking, we ultimately wanted participants to personally define the term itself. In piloting, however, we observed that simply asking this in a one-time interview was too abstract, making it difficult to produce a thoughtful, contextualized definition. Instead, we conducted a one-week experience sampling study with a broad range of 40 knowledge workers to prompt them to reflect more deeply on the time well spent concept. During their primary working hours, participants were asked on an hourly basis to reflect on all work and non-work activities that they engaged in, to rate how well they spent their time, and to explain their rating. Finally, at the end of the week, we asked participants to provide their personal definitions of time well spent. To jump right into the key finding, we found that the term time well spent indeed resulted in a more holistic framing during primary working hours, capturing both productivity and well-being. In their definitions of time well spent, participants not only included elements of what I work on and how I work, but also elements of how I feel and how I take care of myself, which are distinctly well-being focused concepts. Next, I'll unpack how we arrived at these themes and what each theme captures in more detail. Our main source of data was participants' personal definitions of time well spent. For example, that time well spent was time spent accomplishing tasks or maintaining relationships with my colleagues. These definitions were analyzed with thematic analysis to produce the 4 themes, as well as a visualization that captures the distribution of these definitions across them. Unsurprisingly, we saw that 32 out of 40 definitions included elements of what I work on, a productivity-focused theme. However, we also saw a strong presence of well-being related themes in how I feel and how I take care of myself, with 11 and 17 definitions respectively. So first, that time well spent depends on what I work on. This theme captures the results-focused dimension of work. For example, time was well spent when participants were able to simply make progress on their work or complete tasks on their to-do list. Other participants thought that their time was well spent when they followed a long or short-term plan, and if they are producing high-quality work. Another theme was how I work. These subthemes focus on how the worker is when they're working. For example, participants thought that their time was well spent when they were punctual, efficient, or focused on their work. Next is that time well spent depends on how I feel, which involves feelings of satisfaction or achievement, but also when the work itself is fun or meaningful. For example, participant 9 defined time well spent as time when I felt satisfied that I used my abilities adequately. Finally, how I take care of myself, which has 4 sub-themes: physical health, mental and emotional health, social bonds, and breaks from work. For example, participants would mention that it was time well spent if they were doing things that would take care of their physical health, like eating or exercising. Maintaining social bonds was also recognized as important by participant 19, who said, "Time spent socializing is also enriching, as long as it doesn't take up too large a portion of a workday." A recent Chi paper asked workers to define productivity through the logging of productive activities throughout their entire day. Their findings showed that most people, unsurprisingly, focused on aspects of classic productivity, but also early evidence that some touched on their emotional and physical state in their personal productivity. This is possibly because they logged during their entire day. In our study, by contrast, we did not focus on the entire day, but only logged primary working hours. We asked people about time well spent and not productivity, and found that many explicitly included strong aspects of their feelings and self-care, in addition to the classic productivity themes, suggesting that time well spent does indeed capture work time more holistically. An interesting future avenue of research would be to holistically redesign current digital interventions, like rescue time, which primarily just focus on labeling activities as productive or unproductive. What if these tools considered the role of reflection in capturing elements of a worker's feelings? What if they considered the importance of self-care and taking breaks? To conclude, we've contributed a preliminary characterization of time well spent, showing that the term captures a more holistic notion of work performance that includes both classic productivity, but importantly, also well-being. We believe that time well spent brings us one step closer to a more holistic, realistic, and standardized measure of work performance for knowledge workers. Although there are now a number of digital tools and interventions that are designed to assist us in our work, they often do so without considering the worker's well-being. Again, we hope that the concept of time well spent may inspire future designers to develop holistic interventions that truly work for us instead of against us, leading to a healthier and happier workforce. Thank you for listening.